Let's talk video games now. We're going to talk about Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. This was my weekend, pretty much. And thank you to my family for putting up with my Call of Duty time this weekend. I think we have to start talking about this unbelievable campaign that the team at Infinity Ward obviously worked their asses off on. Brian Bloom was a co-writer on this thing. He kind of embedded himself with the team. I interviewed him earlier, and please check that video out. It was a good day. It was back at Comic-Con, and I really enjoyed meeting with him and getting further into the passion that he had to create a cool story in here. And you know what? When I was playing it, I certainly reflected back on that conversation because I think this is one of the most cohesive Call of Duty stories that we've seen. And, you know, I realize that's kind of a backhanded compliment because these things are just crazy cartoons sometimes. Speaking of cartoons, they bounce all over the damn place and they're all larger than life. It's like Michael Bay just took some steroids and then some uppers and then some things that got him to move faster, some speed. I don't even know the drugs, but things that just made him go nuts. Some bath salts, and then he made a video game. It's just incredibly crazy how big Call of Duty gets. And this game does that too, but what's different is you kind of are in the boots of this singular person dealing with you know, every sort of second. It feels like we're playing everything out in real time because you're just walking along, and we're not really walking along. You're blasting along and shooting at bad guys, and then you'll jump into your Jackal and you'll take off into space and you'll land your Jackal on the top of this giant spaceship aircraft carrier thing. You'll probably have a dogfight on the way. Your ship might get blown up. You might have to shoot out of it and use a zip line to land on the thing and climb on the outside and get inside. But you'll get inside and then you'll get into the bridge, and then you'll look at some kind of cool map and you'll hyperspace to something else, and then you'll get back in your Jackal and you'll land on it, and it just goes on and on and on. And yes, it kind of leads you by the hand. This is the Call of Duty staple. They give you the points of where you got to go, and you got to go do that, and you got to get these objectives, and you got to get to this next cutscene. But it's just so captivating and thrilling and beautiful. God, I think these are totally some of the best, if not the best, graphics of 2016. I think it's going to be a good horse race between this and Uncharted 4. But it absolutely stunning, just crazy, beautiful campaign. Good voice work, good acting, lots of little surprise characters in there. It was awesome to see Eric Layden. I loved the campaign. You got to move on to the onto the multiplayer, though, when you talk about Call of Duty. And there, I don't think this deviates, frankly, enough. I wanted to get into some space battles right out of the gate, sort of like what they did with Battlefront, and it's really carved up with futuristic weapons and some class types that give you extra doodads. Like if you play the Synaptic, the robot, you get these super fast weapons that allow him to target super quickly. If you play as the warfighter guy, he has this gun that shoots off in a bunch of different directions. If you play as the tank type guy, he's got this laser beam thing that shoots off in multiple directions at the same time. It's like this heat-seeking laser, I don't know what those giant machine gun things are where you walk around like that, but that is fun. And there's different modes, like there's chase the drone mode, and there's, of course, team deathmatch and objective modes where you got to take over different areas and stuff like that. And then there's one of my favorite modes, actually, that I played was the gun mode, where you have to try to get to use and kill your enemies with every one of the weapons that are in the game, and then a new gun gets unlocked, and you're sort of progressing that way and leveling up your skills that way. That was super fun, but it didn't feel as big of an escape or as ambitious a reach, I think, as the campaign did. It feels like they went a little in the direction of Titanfall, but now Titanfall 2 is out, and I just felt like I wanted a giant mech to come crashing through the sky, or me to be able to jump into my Jackal and fly off and have some fun that way. But really, I'm just chasing bad guys around and getting shot, pretty much around every single corner. You know how it is. Everybody's better than you when you start these things, and that's definitely true here. It's still super fun. But it felt derivative and it felt familiar. It felt, and I think that's kind of the tough spot that the Call of Duty team is in. They can't really deviate too much from their tried and true. And that's also the case, I think, with the Zombies in Spaceland mode. It's amazing, though, that when you talk about Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, you're talking about three separate, disparate kinds of experiences that are all very solid. But it's crazy to me that the campaign is the real standout this time. Zombies in Spaceland is super fun, though, don't get me wrong. You're basically in a giant zombied out amusement park in the 80s. You're dealing with all kinds of zombies erupting from all kinds of places, and you're tacking up boards just like you always have been in the Zombies mode. You get some kind of spacey type weapons in here as well, and there's tons of little in-jokes and hidden Easter eggs and surprises in this thing. You'll ride roller coasters. You'll get behind the scenes on the machinery of the amusement park. And the zombies get tougher and tougher and tougher, and pretty soon you just won't be able to crawl away fast enough. And then you will die. And one of my favorite things about Zombies in Spaceland is you go to this kind of limbo arcade, which is loaded with Activision Atari 2600 games on arcade machines. And it was so freaking cool for me to be able to go up and play Barnstorming or River Raid 2 or Robot Tank. I mean, these are games that I remember as a kid. These are the things that got me to kind of dream about video games and got me so excited about them when I was very young. Most of you that are watching this probably will have no idea what the hell I'm talking about, but I had a great time checking out those old classic arcade games. And the graphics too in the Zombies in Spaceland and in multiplayer are all incredibly solid. Lots of rich, crazy colors, incredible environmental stuff. Here's that arcade right here. It's just incredible. Chopper Command. It was very fun to play the Zombies in Spaceland. And, I just think that when you do things like that as a developer, when you sort of go the extra mile and add these little playable bits, it's like you're reaching out and you're shaking the hand of the gamer and you're saying, yes, we've got a contract here. We're going to make all kinds of fun entertainment for you. And that's precisely what I thought this VR experience was going to be like too, this Jackal Assault VR experience that Blake tried out at Call of Duty XP. I didn't want to crush my hair, so I didn't try it, but I tried it now, and it's about 5 minutes long, and that's just crazy. It's just so short, I could not believe it. I put the thing on, I didn't know that you could invert the controls by tapping the square button, so I was like shooting everything the wrong way. I got upset, I stopped my stream, I started it again, I inverted my controls, and then it was over. And I was like, what, that's it? That's all you got? Oh my God. And then I played it again after I did my stream one more time, and it's like, okay, well that's nothing like Eve Valkyrie. I mean, it works, but you basically, you can kind of feel like you're going to the edge of the world, and you got to go back and shoot a bunch of ships, and then you blow up the big sort of capital ship, and that's it. That's all she wrote. So, I mean, it's nice that it's free, but it should be free. And this is a company that makes all the money, these Call of Duty people, and you kind of feel like if they're going to do VR, man. Like, bring it. Give us some extra levels. Bring us some unbelievable content. Make us feel like the future is right here in our Call of Duty space. But that's definitely true in the campaign. I really, really liked the Call of Duty Infinite Warfare package. I can quibble, I can have complaints. I think what hurts it for me, in my estimation, is that Battlefield 1 is excellent and the multiplayer is superior. You just can do a lot more things in it, and it's much more open world, and it's amazing. It's not space, and I leaned in the space direction. But Titanfall 2, I think, is kind of better than both of them, and it sits right in the middle. It's got the fast action and the sci-fi vibe and the Titans, and it's got great multiplayer and an awesome campaign. But the campaign in Infinite Warfare really brings it up. It's something everyone, especially if you've, I think everybody should play it, but if you've ever had a love for Call of Duty, you're really going to dig it. I'll also take a look at the Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered. I took a cursory look at the campaign already, but I'm not reviewing that. But as far as the Infinite Warfare package, including the Eve Valkyrie, Eve Valkyrie, yeah, that's the VR flight experience you want. But the Call of Duty Infinite Warfare package with the Jackal Assault VR thing in there, that whole package, I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10. And I think I didn't plan for this to be a versus, but out of Battlefield 1, Titanfall 2, and Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, I think Titanfall 2 is the better of those 3 shooters that have just come out in this last week, which has been, or 2 weeks, which has been crazy. So there you go. 8.5 for Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. Whew. Okay, who's been playing this? Has anybody been playing? No Robotron Swangor. Yeah, it's all just Activision stuff. But I love that. You know, when I was at Call of Duty XP with Blake, I kind of thought, and it was cool, and it was a great celebration of that one game, but I thought, man, Activision has been around since the beginning of this business. They've got developers all over the world that have worked for them on tons and tons of games. Why don't they just throw a huge expo and make it about their whole history and have all kinds of great Activision stuff there? I think that'd be amazing. And, you know, when they do this kind of stuff in a game, it's kind of leaning in that direction, which I love, man. I think that's great. Thanks, Vic. Edward Major, you're welcome. Titanfall 2 will also be the least successful. Torgo Gorgo on YouTube is saying, too bad, shooters are heavily reliant on a large player base unless you have a dedicated group of friends. It's true. Titanfall 2, and this is no secret, it's getting trounced right now. It got washed up in the hype of Call of Duty and Battlefield. Imagine being any product, anything coming out in between those two behemoths. Who made Robotron? That was Midway back in the 80s. That was Eugene Jarvis. Incredible. That question was from Swangor. Great review. Good to see that in-depth look at the mechanics of the game. Oh yeah, man, it's super fun. You run on the walls. It's really tight and fun. And you know the campaign, which does serve as a bit of a training mode for multiplayer, as it always does, gives you a taste of everything. And yeah, it's definitely an impressive package, guys. Absolutely. They need a Vic Rules 666, not related to me, Vic. He's also named Vic. We worked this out already on a previous stream. Says, I think they need a Call of Duty with classic medieval battles or Revolutionary War. Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I guess so. Yeah, Assassin's Creed. Yeah, it's going to be, I mean, we'll see how Battlefield 1 does for DICE. My suspicion is that will be the end of going that far back. And we are going to start probably re-looking at World War II because it was a clean, heroic war, you know, a war that can be re-examined in many different ways in media, as it always has been. But all of these, you know, 4K systems and such haven't done that. So I think that we'll probably go back in that direction. I'm very curious to see how the sales work on Infinite Warfare too, because we all know the downvotes on the video and people's aversion to this kind of sci-fi direction that Call of Duty has been going in the last little while. Did EA bury Titanfall 2 for Battlefield? Danny Jablonski. I think what they wanted to do was have two big behemoths of their own going up against the big machine of Call of Duty. But it got a little sandwiched, a little squished. One more question here. I remember Robotron and Pitfall from back in the day. I'm getting old. Yeah, Jack. Just got to start using the creams, man. Can you give us your honest opinion on Battlefield 1? It's great, but it's about World War I. This was Kokiru Zara Koda. I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name. It's great, but it's about World War I, which was a messy war, and it's a huge topic, and it's a very solid game, but it does, I think, just give us a cursory look at the horrors of that war. With its mini campaigns, which were very interesting, but I almost wanted them to deliver more. I wanted them to go as big with their campaign as both Titanfall did and Infinite Warfare has as well, in that in that vein, in that World War I vein. Is VR still a gimmick? So people are saying that VR is a gimmick and people should stay away from it. Unicorn Seed. Okay, so this was me for the last 2 years just saying, oh my God, I'm so scared. I don't want to deal with this. I don't want this thing crushing my hair. I don't want to ever see my daughter with wearing these things. She's too young, by the way. She won't be wearing a VR headset for a few more years yet. You have to be a certain age, I think, before the 3D doesn't affect your future vision. But now I've got all. And throughout the back half of 2016, I've been playing a lot of PlayStation VR and HTC Vive, and now the most recent one that we've got in the studio is the Oculus Rift. I'm a big fan of VR. It's really immersive, obviously, but it's really, really fun for the specific styles of games. I now cannot imagine not wanting anything where you're in a cockpit, a tank, a plane, a spaceship, a roller coaster, anything where you're kind of racing cars, where you don't want that VR sensation, that ability to look around and sort of chart and see your opponent, whether it's a car you're racing or an enemy ship that you're trying to chase down. It's so much better in VR. It's really, really awesome. But then you're also seeing really cool things, like watch my stream of Lucky's Tale on the Oculus Rift. I was incredible. It was really well tuned, and the fact that you're more than just the camera, you're more than just the R stick with your head when you're looking around in Lucky's Tale, and you're actually able to look at everything like it's a little diorama, like a little toy set, and you're maneuvering and jumping, and the fidelity and the finesse was really solid. Yeah, VR, it kicks ass. I'm a huge fan of rigs on the PlayStation VR. Raw data on the Vive is insane. Even the lab trial thing. I made a playlist on our channel, EPVR. Watch some of those streams. You see my reaction when I'm playing these things. And this was my hesitation with those companies too, with PlayStation and with HTC and with Oculus. I didn't want to do these demos. I was not in public. I didn't want to do them in public. I was vain, but I also didn't want to keep making these segments of, wow, this is amazing. Wow, this is amazing. It was time to actually sit down and play these games and spend some real time with them. And now that I have, I can tell you that it's very hard to take those headsets off and move away from these games when you're in them. And that's also one of the sort of downfall, or one of the disconcerting things about VR, is how addictive it is. But it is really, really fun. And, that's my biggest disappointment with the Call of Duty VR thing, is like it's so short. I wanted more. It was cool. It was working, and that's also why I love Valkyrie. But I also thought that Rush of Blood, the Until Dawn Rush of Blood roller coaster carnival shooter game on PlayStation VR was awesome, and even the lab mini game collection where you're doing the bow and arrow on the Vive from Steam and from Valve is awesome. Just so much fun. You're actually leaning over castle walls and shooting people with bows and arrows. It's an incredible game. Okay, why do Kev Gret has the penultimate question that we all ask at this time of year. Why do the publishers stack so many AAA titles in a 2-month span? Titanfall 2 is a victim of being released in a crowded market, and you're absolutely correct, Kev Grant. It's unfair to so many people, including the consumer, right? Like, we feel this sense of, if you're a huge fan of this medium like I am, this sense of anxiety, like I want to get to all these things. How am I going to squeeze my time? How do I, crack off weeks of time to be able to jump into this thing, especially if it's an online game, or even these remasters, man, they're all coming out now too. The Batman Return to Arkham and the Skyrim. These are huge, huge games, and the business definitely needs to learn how to make us care about video games and make consumers go to the stores or go to the digital stores and buy these big games all year long. And it's always a source of frustration. It's when reviewers like myself do the most whining is at the end of the year. Like, it's awesome to get all of this stuff and to play through all of these things, but it's just like bam, 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 bam. And that's not the way these things were meant to be played, just quite frankly. And all it does is that it sets up a lot of these products to fail and then to go on sale. And that may end up being good for that particular title, but here's something that I definitely know to be true, is that if a developer has success with a brand or a title, and it might kind of hint at the potential, if it does well and they get to do a sequel, or, fingers crossed, 2 sequels, that third sequel is going to be amazing. I mean, look at Burnout or Assassin's Creed, or there are tons of games where the developers need that gestation time and that monetary cash flow time to go back into these concepts and ideas and to further embellish them. Look at Grand Theft Auto, Grand Theft Auto 3 compared to Grand Theft Auto 1. And that's the drag, right? These games come out, crowded markets, too busy, people don't have time, they don't have the money, they don't buy it, that studio goes under. And that product, that awesome game concept didn't sell X number of units, never seen again. And that sucks, because how many awesome games have we all played that deserve sequels or deserve more from that universe or more from that developer that had to eventually be disbanded because their game came out between Call of Duty and Battlefield. And I'm not saying anything's going to happen to Respawn. They're fine. They're working on Star Wars stuff. So we'll see what's going on there. Hey, thanks for checking out that video on our EPN channel. It's just one small part of the things that we make around here. So if you liked it, don't forget to check out some of our other vids and hit that subscribe button.